21ാം നൂറ്റാണ്ടിലേക്ക് സ്വാഗതം. എത്ര പെട്ടെന്നാണ് ചീറ്റപ്പുലികൾ നമ്മുടെ വർത്തമാനങ്ങളിലേക്ക് ഓടിക്കയറിയത്. 1950കളിൽ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതിന് കുറച്ച് മുൻപ് ഇന്ത്യൻ വനങ്ങളിൽ നിന്നും പൂർണ്ണമായും വംശനാശം സംഭവിച്ച ചീറ്റപ്പുലികൾ ഇതാ ഇന്ത്യയിലേക്ക് തിരികെ വരുന്നു. ആഫ്രിക്കയിലെ നമീബിയയിൽ നിന്നും 8ഓളം ചീറ്റപ്പുലികളെ തുറന്നു വിട്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ് മധ്യപ്രദേശിലെ കുനോ ദേശീയ പാർക്കിലേക്ക്. ഈ വിഷയത്തെക്കുറിച്ച് സംസാരിക്കുവാനായി 21ാം നൂറ്റാണ്ടിൽ ഏറ്റവും അനുയോജ്യനായ ഒരു അതിഥിയാണ് എത്തിയിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇന്ത്യൻ വന്യജീവി സംരക്ഷണത്തിന് ഏറ്റവും വലിയ സംഭാവനകൾ ചെയ്ത ഇന്ന് ജീവിച്ചിരിക്കുന്ന ഇന്ത്യക്കാരിൽ ഒരാളാണ് MK രാഞ്ജിത് ജി. അദ്ദേഹം 1961 IAS കേഡറിലുള്ളതാണ്. വങ്കനീർ രാജവംശ പരമ്പരയിൽ നിന്ന് വരുന്ന ആളാണ്. 1972 ഇന്ന് നിലവിലുള്ള ഇന്ത്യയുടെ വൈൽഡ് ലൈഫ് പ്രൊട്ടക്ഷൻ ആക്ട് അതിൻ്റെ പിന്നിലുള്ള മുഖ്യ ശില്പികളിൽ ഒരാളാണ് ഈ ചീറ്റകളെക്കുറിച്ച് സംസാരിക്കുവാനായി ഇന്ന് 21ാം നൂറ്റാണ്ടിൽ എത്തിയിരിക്കുന്നത്. കേരളത്തിനും അദ്ദേഹം പ്രിയങ്കരനാണ്. നമ്മുടെ രവികുളം നാഷണൽ പാർക്കിൻ്റെയൊക്കെ സ്ഥാപനത്തിൻ്റെ പിന്നിൽ വലിയ പങ്കുവഹിച്ച ആളാണ്. അത് പിന്നീടൊരിക്കൽ നമുക്ക് ചർച്ച ചെയ്യാം. അദ്ദേഹം ഈ ചർച്ചയിൽ പങ്കെടുക്കുവാൻ തയ്യാറായതിന്, ഈ സംഭാഷണത്തിൽ പങ്കെടുക്കുവാൻ തയ്യാറായതിന് എനിക്ക് പ്രത്യേകം നന്ദിയും സന്തോഷവുമുണ്ട്. വെൽക്കം ടു ദിസ് കോൺവെർസേഷൻ സർ. Kerala has very rich flora and fauna and a rich forest cover because of the Western Ghats, and you have associated with some of the national parks in Kerala, and due to many reasons the wildlife man conflict is much more in Kerala because of the human density problem, and very recently the environmental activism, the wildlife activism, the wildlife photography, wildlife writings, all are, people have a lot of interest in these areas, and I am so happy to have you in this show to talk about the cheetah trails. Welcome.
It's my privilege to be associated with the wildlife of Kerala and with the people of Kerala. I have the highest regard for them, and they are extremely dedicated and knowledgeable and interested, and of course very highly educated.
And can you just say very briefly, I know it's a long history, but briefly the sad extinct of the story of extinction of Indian cheetahs or cheetahs of the Asiatic region?
It's normally mentioned that they were hunted out. Yes, of course they were hunted and heavily, but they were very common and they were very widespread. They were not there in Kerala because of the topography, but they were right up to the Cape in open areas where the black buck was. The cheetah with the tiger and the leopard was a proscribed animal with a bounty on its head and could be shot, and a prize of 6 rupees or something like that was given in the 19th century. So they must have been widespread and common, but the decline had started a little beyond that. The real reason was that their prey animals and their habitat was very, very rapidly decimated. The main prey, the chinkara and the black buck, live in the open grasslands, which were first converted by man into agriculture, and rapidly so, and they were parceled out to landless people. And the black buck were hunted because they raided the crops. They had no grasslands left, and therefore they were raiding the crops. And when after independence, but even before that, but particularly after independence, crop protection weapons were given out in thousands, and the biggest casualty was the black buck. So with the prey, the survival of the animal was at stake. The second thing was that the cheetah came more and more contact with man, and unlike the leopard and the lion, leopard and the tiger, the cheetah is not cryptic. It's what is called diurnal. They move around in day, and they are in public view, as was the lion to that extent. And one must remember that the lion too, by 1902, had suffered a very high decline, and there were approximately 50 odd left. But lion had godfathers in the princely family of Junagadh and the princely family of Baroda, and the lion therefore survived. The cheetah had no godfather, and it went extinct because there was no retrieval. And the decline really started much earlier than the last cheetah shot. And in that area, the cheetah still continued to survive till the end of the 1950s.
Nick, you are considered as one of the chief architects of the 1972 Protection of Wildlife Act of India. We all are thankful to you for that. But whether cheetahs were in your mind when you are working on this 1972 document, or whether you have dreamt about the return of cheetahs to Indian subcontinent?
I dreamt about the cheetah's extinction and the desire to get it back when I was a boy. And I read that the cheetah had been shot and that they may have been the last cheetah. This was in 48, 49. I was about 10 years old or so. But that was a dream. When I became director of wildlife, under the first one, under the Wildlife Act, after it was passed, at that time I put the cheetah in Schedule 1 with the lion and the tiger and the snow leopard. Because I had believed, I wanted to attempt to bring it back, and it started then. And that's why I put it in Schedule 1, and I began negotiating with the government of Iran, and we had struck a deal, but it couldn't happen for various reasons. And then I went off to United Nations Environment Program. The Shah of Iran fell from power, and the interest in wildlife conservation dissipated with it. And when I became the director of wildlife for the second time in 1985, the cheetah had more or less gone down to very low levels in Iran. But prior to that, I was Forest Secretary of Madhya Pradesh, and in that capacity, I did establish Kunu as a sanctuary in 1981.
ചീറ്റപ്പുലികൾ ഇന്ത്യയിലേക്ക് വരുന്നതിനെ കുറിച്ചാണ് 21ാം നൂറ്റാണ്ട് ഇന്ന് പരാമർശിക്കുന്നത്. അതിൻ്റെ വരും വരായികകൾ, സാധ്യതകൾ, അത് തുറന്നിടുന്ന സാധ്യതകൾ. ഒരിടവേള. I'm very happy to be in this home. There is a cheetah just behind you, there is a leopard on your shirt, and I'm seeing lions on the walls, many penguins on the walls, birds all around. I am happily seeing one Irevikulam Varayade even just behind me. And my question is, what we bring now to Kuno is an African species of cheetah. And I read recently an interview with you there. You said that the divide is of 4,500 to 6,500 years between the species, the Indian species and the African species. And how genetically these species are different?
The species is the same. There is only one cheetah species, as you know, Cheetahs. Now, these subspecies are different because cheetah, like the lion, came from South Africa, and they crossed over into Asia. But the difference between the Asiatic cheetah and the African cheetah is less than the difference between the Asiatic lion and the African lion. because the cheetah went through a bottleneck, and a very interesting book has been written about it by Stephen O'Brien, The Tears of the Cheetah, in which he describes that. There is a difference, there is a slight subspecies difference, the species is the same. But the IUCN guidelines does say that when the nominate race, the main race which was occurring in that area is not available, you can get the next closest subspecies. And we have done that. We brought the cheetah from South Africa, where there is practically, I will put the two side by side, and only a handful maybe in India can make out a difference, probably in the world. And the difference between the lion, African and Indian, is much more pronounced. Okay. Many people can make out the difference physically.
And in your 2017 book, Life in Wildlife, from the princely state to the present, you have mentioned about the Kuno National Park and all. And why you think that Kuno National Park is probably the best location for the translocation of cheetahs from Africa?
I haven't described that. It's been scientifically analyzed, firstly by the Wildlife Institute of India, before the Supreme Court stay order came. And it was in that report, which was jointly published by me and by Dr. Jhala of the Wildlife Institute in 2009, which I can show you a copy of. And that showed that Kuno was the best site. Then the experts from South Africa, and again when the Supreme Court allowed in 2020 that the cheetah can come in, because they had stopped it, as you know, in 2013, the Supreme Court, and they revised that order. Then again it was found to be the best site. And the South African and the Namibian experts who come in 2009 and now have certified that this is a suitable site, and one of them has even gone on to say that Kuno is a better site than many of the areas in Namibia. You must remember that Kuno must not be the only site. It is the first place of introduction. There are other sites also, two in Madhya Pradesh, Noradehi in Gandhi Sagar, and Mukundra in Rajasthan, which have also been found to be very suitable, but they need upgradation. So Kuno will be a part of a meta population that has to be rehabilitated in India.
And you know, you mentioned in that interview which I was referring to now about anyway the lions didn't reach Kuno, and then better let the cheetahs come. Now, why the lions didn't come to Kuno?
That you should ask the government. That I am not in a position to answer. You should ask the government of India.
And you say that both of them can coexist together even now in Kuno.
Yes, they can. There will be casualties, because in nature there is casualties, and there will be conflict. There is currently going to be the least conflict, which is good, because the cheetah is a small predator, and the technique is that you first bring in a small predator, and once it settles down after producing 2 litters, then it becomes territorial, then it cannot be driven out. There will be losses. As I said, there are losses even in Africa and elsewhere. But remember, in the historic past, in the recent past, 4 of the great cats of India, lion, tiger, leopard and cheetah, all coexisted in Kuno. Today there is only leopard and now the cheetah, and if the tiger walks in, nobody is going to stop him, and if the lion comes, there will be no other place in the whole world like Kuno. I'm dreaming of that now, before I go, to see all the four in one place in India, and which to me is personal because I declared it as a sanctuary in 81, and Kunu is special.
I can understand the inner happiness. And 2 days back, I was reading that after 25 or 30 years of break, for the first time, one tiger walked into an
Yes.
Andhra.
They did, and they come and go.
ഇന്ത്യയിലേക്ക് നമീബിയയിൽ നിന്നും ചീറ്റപ്പുലികൾ വന്ന സാഹചര്യത്തെക്കുറിച്ചും അതിൻ്റെ ചരിത്ര സാഹചര്യത്തെക്കുറിച്ചും ഇന്ത്യയിൽ എങ്ങനെയാണ് ചീറ്റപ്പുലികൾക്ക് വംശനാശം സംഭവിച്ചു എന്നതിനെക്കുറിച്ചുമൊക്കെയാണ് ഇതുവരെ സംസാരിച്ചിരുന്നത്. ഇനി നമുക്ക് ഒരു ഇടവേളയിലേക്ക് പോകാം. അതിനുശേഷം എന്തുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഇന്ത്യയിലെ ചീറ്റകൾ ആഫ്രിക്കയിലെ ചീറ്റകളിൽ നിന്നും വ്യത്യസ്തപ്പെട്ടിരിക്കുന്നത്, വ്യത്യാസമുണ്ടോ, എന്തുതരം വ്യത്യാസമാണുള്ളത് എന്നുള്ള ചോദ്യങ്ങളിലേക്ക് നമുക്ക് പോകാം ഒരു ഇടവേളയ്ക്ക് ശേഷം. Many conversation, many conservationists and many environmental activists, animal lovers and all are objecting to the very idea. They have reservations about the very idea of translocating the African species to Kuno, to many reasons. And I would love to get your reflection on it, about their genuine concerns.
They are entitled to have their reservations, and everybody is entitled to his viewpoint. The first reservation that it is not suitable. That is, I've already said, it is suitable. And topography-wise, prey base-wise, prey base needs to be supplemented. And under the aegis of this project, I want to bring in, and I've already made that overture, to bring in the South African expertise, the greatest in the world today, of mass capture and translocation of prey species, ungulates. There is a gentleman who is prepared to come here and help us, and it should be under the aegis of the umbrella of the project Cheetah itself, who's captured this gentleman, a South African man, more than 20,000. We haven't yet developed the technique of mass capture of blackbuck and nilgai. They are a nuisance elsewhere, but they are welcome there. And if we learn this, we will at least solve the problem of, to some extent, not entirely, of their depredation of crops, and at the same time provide the cheetah and Kunu with a very important prey base, especially in the villages, areas, sites which have been evicted for the lion. The eviction took place not for the cheetah but for the lion, the resettlement. So that wise, and please remember, I keep on hearing either the cheetah likes grasslands, open lands. Of course they like grasslands, but they need cover to hide. They get very tired after a run. They need shade to lie down in. You might have seen cheetah even walking up and taking shade under the roof of a safari car because they need shade.
Yes.
And they need shade and cover, most important, for have their young. So the best habitats are the grassland forest mosaics, not plain grasslands, for which Kunu is ideal. And the South Africans have certified that the most productive cheetah area is the Finda sanctuary, where the forest cover, dry deciduous forest, xerophytic vegetation, is thicker than even of Kunu. So that is the past, that it is suitable, and that is now about the future. The future is, this is what it counts. The introduction has been done. As I have said, the event is over. The real reintroduction, rehabilitation, and restoration starts now. The real work. And that is where the government efforts will have to count. You need dedicated people on the ground to see that it succeeds. Firstly, within the park and outside the park, by hand-holding the local people, by developing a stake, a pride, like there is for the lion outside of the Gir, the major portion, of the lion population is now outside the girp or at the edges of it. But the local people have pride in it. That kind of pride, that kind of stakeholder has to be improved. Both the non-governmental organization and the district administration, this is not just the job of the forest department alone, it's the job of the state government per se. And the collector can play a very important role in this. And so can the other departments of government, tribal welfare and social welfare schemes. So that the local people feel compensated to that extent. And the other thing is the compensation. Luckily, the cheetah doesn't inflict casualties on man, and of course not on livestock, buffaloes and cattle. But they may kill an occasional sheep or goat, for which immediate full compensation must be given, so that there is no angst and rancor.
Thank you for the quality time for the Irupathiyonnamnuttand. It's a Malayali TV, it is for a Malayali TV channel, and certainly the Kerala population, the Malayalis, will love to listen to you more. Whenever time permits, please give more time to us.
Certainly. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
21ാം നൂറ്റാണ്ടിൻ്റെ ഈ ലക്കം ഇവിടെ സമാപിക്കുകയാണ്. അടുത്ത ശനിയാഴ്ച വീണ്ടും കാണാം.